This is a different video than usual. Today we will improvise a patch from scratch according to 3 random techniques that we will pick from our website. Instead of presenting a polished and well-edited patch idea, we will document the creative process behind it, with some trial and error and some reflective moments. It is almost a recorded live streaming. We will shoot more videos like this, so stay tuned for more. We are currently redesigning the resources section on our website, so we decided to add an extra tool. In the techniques page, there are now 3 random patches that we can use to foster our creativity. We can still browse the archive and filter all the techniques by module, but this random section up here changes every time we refresh the page. It is a sort of inspiration Kickstarter. So for example, now we have 3 random techniques that we can use for creating a patch from scratch. For example, we have the octave blends, we have the polymeter, and we have the fake analog end. So we have 2 techniques focusing on FALISTRI and 1 on the USTA sequencer. If you see these 3 techniques and if you have an idea as well, feel free to record it and share it with the Frap Tools Ideas hashtag. We will be curious to hear it. So for this patch I'm gonna need at least 2 sequences, and since this is gonna be a polyphonic patch, I'm gonna use the green oscillator to put into practice the octave blends techniques. So what I'm gonna do is to duplicate the square wave to divide the square wave output by through the dual cascaded frequency divider on this first FALISTRI here, which I'm then gonna blend on the 3-2-1. I may want to set the offsets, I may want to remove the offsets by setting this switch on the right and this switch on the left to keep the phase straight. And so I'm gonna blend these 2 octaves. This is gonna sound super low at the moment, but we're gonna fix that once we have our sequence playing. And then I think I'm gonna blend them instead of the square wave. I'm gonna use the sawtooth here on the green oscillator. So now I'm gonna use the 2 separate sections on the brain as 2 standalone oscillators. So for example, I can route my USTA. So I'm gonna set up a new track, and I'm gonna use Sapel's clock, because I may want to be a little bit more flexible since I'm not knowing right now what this sequence is going to sound like. So I'm going to set all the tracks to play with external clock, and to do so I'm going to hold set all and push external clock. Now all my tracks will respond to Sapel's. I'm going to keep the ratio to 1:1 so that my sequence is going to follow along the clock speed. And now I will need to tune my oscillator, so I'm gonna set up tracks 1 and 2. Actually, I'm gonna start from track 1, and I'm gonna set let's say a C3, and I'm gonna clone track 1 over track 2, so now they're gonna play the same note. And I'm gonna patch let's see, track 1 over to the green oscillator and track 2 over the yellow one. Okay, now I'm gonna pick either of these 2 3-2-1 outputs and patch it to the first channel of the quad stereo channel. Okay, I am now able to blend the octaves. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Now this is not a big issue right now because the CGM allows me to is AC coupled, so it removes any DC component. But since I'm gonna use these 2 outputs as an actual waveform, I may want to set them to bipolar, so selecting the lower position. So the square wave output is gonna be roughly -5 and +5 volts, which plays great as an oscillator and blends better on over the 3-2-1 here. Okay. Now I need to tune the yellow oscillator. So I'm not gonna play with a tuner today. I actually never do. So I'm just gonna look for a relative intonation. Nice. Okay, so we can start thinking about how our polymeter should sound like. And to do so, I like to set up a kind of a syncopated patch so that we can better appreciate how the two voices will blend with each other. So I'm gonna set up a Dorian scale on all my tracks, and so that I can be faster while composing. And while I'm here, I can start thinking about my gates. So I'm gonna set the first track to control the green envelope on this FALISTRI. Which I can then use to control my first brainsaw section, the green one. Okay. Okay, so we can start from this sequence here, and we can clone it all over to track 2. So now our second track should play the same sequence. And now we're gonna use this gate to trigger another section on FALISTRI. Which we'll then use to clock our CGM. Then we can slow down everything a little bit and see how they play in unison. So the whole USTA polymeter patch or technique works by changing the duration of one stage. In this case, we can remove the last stage, which is gonna last for 2 time units. And so we will have our track 2, which is gonna be 14 instead of 16 time units. Let's see. Okay, now we can bring in some reverb. And now we are ready to incorporate the third technique, which is the fake analog AND. This is quite an unusual technique because it works with FALISTRI's 4-quadrant multiplier. If we feed it with 2 unipolar signals, we will use just 1 quadrant. It means that the 4-quadrant multiplier will output a signal only when both the inputs are high. And this can create some rhythmic patterns. So we can start with the two since both our section have a very sharp attack, I can patch both the end of rise and of the green and yellow generators to the two respective 4-quadrant multiplier inputs. I'm not sure what we're gonna get, but I think we can have some spare gate pattern that we can use elsewhere. So this is one, and this is two. Now you should be able to see that only every now and then we have some pulses here. And this is because the 4-quadrant multiplier now works just when both signals are positive. And since we are now shifting the two melodies, it's not and they have a syncopated pattern that we can see here on the length parameter, it is not that obvious that we will have a gate high signal at the same time. So we can pick this new stream of gates and we can use it to trig another envelope, either on FALISTRI, or if you just have one FALISTRI, you can just patch it here and use it as a spare envelope here on the dual slew limiter, on a slew limiter. And now we should have, I'm gonna make sure to set it to slow time scale and in hold mode. And now, let me see, what I can use this for? We can try to use it to add some rhythmic accents to white noise that I'm gonna take out of Sapel. Let's see. Nice! Let's set it to like this, so this is gonna play faster. I can add some reverb to it. Or I could have routed it to control, for example, Brainstorm's wave folder, which is gonna give some accents only every now and then, but still within our frame. And this patch, although it is very simple because it uses just a 9-stage sequence, or 10 in case of track 1, it's gonna create a very evolving texture that almost never ceases to entertain, so to speak. So I say that we can cap it here for today, and if you have any other idea on how to use these three techniques for creating a different patch, please let us know in the comments. I will put a link to all the three individual techniques in the description in case you want to try it out for yourself. If you want to upload a video, feel free to use the Frap Ideas hashtag so that we can take a look at it. I hope you had fun and see you next time.